to your spirit, my friends, because this is where we are going to live tonight for the next however many minutes. Oh, yes, we have been going through this vision statement, haven't we? We've been going through the vision statement line by line. We have been breaking it down. We have been chewing on it in the style of a Lectio Divina, taking it word for word and really piecemealing it. And if you remember, I said that the high note of last week in the sermon was to remember God, to center God, and that in fact, none of this matters. None of it matters. Creating a positive peace or practicing transformative justice or bringing a radical love or an equalized compassion to people, none of it matters if we do not center God as you understand God. So again, recognizing the multi-path element here, centering love, centering the all oneness. If we don't do that, we are not living from the highest place. So this is very serious tonight, actually, my friends. It's serious business. Yes, we have been going line by line, and I put forward this 10-day visionary project challenge last time, and I said, check it out. From July 26th to August 4th, really engage what it means to create positive peace. And I asked you, let's just review this. What are you creating? Are you creating joy? Are you creating balance? Are you creating prosperity? Or are you creating dismalness? Are you creating hopelessness? That second line of this slide was, we practice transformative justice. And so with that, are you practicing checking in on one another? Are you checking in with yourself? Are you holding yourself accountable? Are you letting others know, hey, I'm not okay right now? This is transformative justice in action. These are the building blocks. This is the foundation. Are you practicing these things? Or are you replicating systems that harm yourself or that harm others? Are you still subscribing to old ways of thinking, of being, of doing? 10 days to notice doesn't mean you have to be perfect, does it? No, it's just 10 days to notice and see and breathe life into that inspirare, the ruach, the spirit. Yes. And so with that, there was a third thing. This is at the end of the sermon. I said, what are we bringing? Are we bringing an equalized compassion? Are we bringing an equalized compassion where you are not simply bleeding out and caretaking to the world? No, because that's not compassion. We know that. That's dis-ease. Or are you balanced in that compassion where you feel life, again, flowing into you? See, that's the highest level shit. That's some really good stuff. Yes. It's equalized. And with that, are you bringing a radical love? Love of the highest order. I have to keep breathing for this one tonight. So what have you been creating? We are at the 7-day mark of 10 days. And don't worry about it. If you weren't able to do it, that's okay. Because we push back from punitive systems here. We push back from that white supremacy culture of constant type A and working and working and working. And we say, look, no. We are going to flow. We are going to breathe. We are going to go into the rhythms of this life. We're going to catch that wave, because that is what has been calling to us. You feel it now. You feel it. Be in that tonight. And so again, right after these lines of we create a positive peace, we practice transformative justice, and we bring equalized compassion and radical love. There's this line. And we believe in God with all its names. So I knew this was coming, and I've been waiting for this. Because let's get into it. Let's talk about God. Because some of you may believe in a Godhead and some of you may not. And we say that that's okay here. Some of you might call God, it might be nature. It might be a tree. It might be, as I said once before, your highest self. It might be Allah. It might be Shekinah. But we don't ever really go into the nitty gritty at roll and find out, what do you believe? What do you not believe? So I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story, and then we're going to open it up for you. So I grew up in the church, and I loved it. I loved it. I was a kid that would take my Bible out, and even though I couldn't read all the words in my Bible, particularly in the Psalms, I would do my best, and I would come up with spontaneous improvisational melodies to the Psalms. And I was very little. I was, I don't know, 6 or 7 years old. And I as I got older, at this Presbyterian church that I attended on Sundays, I taught Sunday school. I assisted my mom first and got very involved in that. And I also played the piano because I'm, some of you know, I'm a classically trained pianist. So I played the piano at church as well. And everything was going along fine. And then about 14, 15 years old, something began to stir in me. And please listen for the similarities for any of you here. Some of you might have them. I began to question. And I began to have a hard time with the story of the virgin birth and the resurrection. It felt too challenging for me to believe in. And I didn't want to tell anybody about it. And so I didn't until I got older. And I remember actually my parents are on the line now. I believe they're listening into the service this evening. And I remember talking to them once. We were in Chicago visiting family, and it was during the Easter holiday. And I sort of broached it with them. And it was sort of like I felt like I was coming out. And so at that point, I actually became very agnostic. Now, that's not where my story ends, interestingly enough, because now, over years of experiencing things, especially in seminary, I went to an interfaith seminary school, and seeing things that were truly beyond thoughts and words, things that did not make sense, things that you could not ascribe theory to. I began to believe in mysticism and things that are ineffable all over again. Interesting how that works, isn't it? So that is some of my story that I wanted to share with you. And next time I'll share a little bit more. But the main thrust for today and how this relates to the work, my friends, is, once again, let us be very crystal clear, is that in my life, I don't know how I could keep going and doing this work of transformative justice, of social justice, of believing that a change is going to come, of saying it is happening. We are going to change. I don't know how, but I believe if God, what I believe God to be, wasn't at the center, where I cling to God, where there have been moments I have gone to my meditation cushion and I have even cursed God because I have been in such despair at the sight of the world, of what is happening now. But I still go. I still lay myself upon the altar. That is a God of my own understanding. Amen. And so this is what I pose to you tonight, my friends, is what is at the center of your life? Because this is what will keep us going in the moments of I can't, I won't, I don't wanna, is that divine spark. My prayer for each and every person here right now is that there is something that holds them together. And that is actually what religion is. When you break the word down in Latin, is to hold, to bind together. And doesn't have to be religion, but what binds you, family? What is holding you together tonight? Let us go in the spirit now even deeper as we move forward into this time for justice, for a positive peace. And sit for just one moment, please. Sit for just one moment in equanimity, in holiness. So from this place, I ask you, what is it? What is it that you believe now? Do you believe in a Godhead? Do you believe in a higher power? And what does that look like? And if you don't, what does that look like? And please, as we've been doing, let's participate, and we'll just go Quaker style. And I already see a hand up, and that is Judy Phillips. So please, Judy, bless us.
My internet works better when I turn my picture off when I try to talk. I was raised Adventist, and I always say that I was 5 years old, and I was in an orthopedic hospital in Los Angeles, and I was supposed to be getting the vegetarian tray, and they sent me a tray with bacon on it one breakfast, and I was scared because I expected lightning, but I took a bite, and immediately, I always say that's the moment I no longer was an Adventist. I didn't get struck by lightning, and bacon's one of my favorite foods. When I used to take the cats on trips to get fixed, I would take a van full of cats, anywhere from 30 to 70, to get fixed at clinics. Before I left on the trip, I prayed for every soul on board of that van to the cat gods. I don't know if there are cat gods. When I'm outside, the picture on my hand, I shared a moment with that praying mantis that was like a prayer. When I sing the song, God will take care of you, to my animals, I sing it to my cats as cat gods take care of you. I sing it to my dog as dog gods take care of you. I don't know what our creator is. I like the movie The Shack. It really strikes me as a great representation of what Octavia Spencer is, I am drawn to the goddess, and she is perfect. Although for that one journey when Goddess turns into Graham Greene, that's also perfect. So I really don't know, but I know that there is something bigger, and I believe. And so yeah, I'm probably pretty eclectic, but that's what I believe.
Thank you so very much, Judy. Thank you. Appreciating you. Appreciating you. Yeah, everybody, I see some hands going up. And in fact, when someone shares, because this is so deeply personal, please let's just show some love with some hands or something like that. And I see another hand, and that is Jay. Jay, please.
Sure. Good evening. I grew up literally like my mother was singing in the choir, pregnant with me. Um, and I love to hear the stories from our former pastor talk about her and me and how the fact that I sing today is like, like water. So having been raised in the Pentecostal Baptist denomination under the realm of Christianity, having the guidance to learn that I have a relationship with God, but it was also clouded by doctrine, man-made doctrine that pretty much, in some cases, countered God's purpose of having a relationship with us. And it turned it into more so of something capitalistic. It turned it into something that was more so transactional. It turned it into something that was more so dogmatic about how I needed to show up in the world as a Christian, so that people will automatically know that I serve God, when in essence, God just really wants your heart. And if you, just really just are nice and kind to people without having to pass out tracts, without having to stand on a corner on State Street, downtown Chicago, telling everybody that they're going to hell, but you're not, it really makes this thing more effective. And having had the opportunity to grow and go from one denomination to different other denominations, having the chance to really understand that from each group, there was just a belief system. I even was a part of a church. They were very powerful as intercessors, but I got the opportunity to spend time there, and their belief was you dress a certain way. So if your skirt was longer to the floor, you were more shamefaced, pretty much, very minimal to no makeup. And you were very, very demure and very shy, and not, operating in anything that would put attention to yourself, that showed that your pursuit is for holiness. And therefore, with that being said, that's how you really serve God. And that's what God calls of you. And it wasn't until I took a vacation, and it was one of those times I booked a one-way ticket from Chicago to New York. I hung out at my friend's church. I hung out at my friend's house. And then she didn't even go to church. I just found Hillsong. And I heard a sermon, and the guy was literally saying, God did not spend time creating you to be made as a cookie cutter. Like, you're not supposed to just follow what everybody else does. You're literally supposed to have your own personal relationship with God, which is what people say all the time when you go to join a church. But yet and still, anything that was coming from the Bible that was supposed to have been pretty much mirrored in front of me or given as an example from the pulpit to the door never really happened, because doctrine. So after going through these different, becoming associated with these different churches and schools of thought, I found Buddhism. And I realized I just want to be a good person. I don't want to be on somebody's neck about, well, where do you go? Who do you pay your tithes to? All these types of things. And I found ways that I was able to realize that the Bible said that when Jesus died, that he ascended, after he ascended from being here on 40 days, that he literally left the Holy Spirit with us so that we could do greater works, because Christ wanted us to be better than him. Yet doctrine told me that I was broken. I had ministers telling me that I was not good and that my righteousness was yet of filthy rags. So I'm just like, I'm so confused. Like, do I believe the Bible or do I believe man? And so I kind of stuck with God. And like, even the Bible is still, challenging at some points because it's written by man. But still, I rather stick with what I know God said and what I believe in my heart that God said. And so my relationship with God is based upon the fact that he created me to be an image of him or image of them or image of her in this world. And so I'm grateful for that.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Jay, for sharing it. And let's, I see hands going. So blessings to you. Thank you. And I see some hands. This is great. I saw Taylor X and then I saw David and Margaret's hands. So first Taylor X and then to whoever is going to be sharing from that other Zoom.
Hello, everybody. It's Taylor X here. I was raised Catholic. I'm part Sephardic Jew and Tarasco native. And I've been to so many different churches over the years looking for something. And kind of what I've come up with is, the seasons come in the same time every year, in the same order. So I figure if the universe is random, as some people say, then those seasons wouldn't come in the same order because it's not random, So my thought is whoever is the thing that makes the seasons happen at the same time every year is a power greater than me. And that must be God. Now, if some people worship the sun god, I'm like, well, hey, the guy that does the seasons, I think he's the guy that does the sun too. Because I've been told that there's only one omnipotent deity. And I'm like, well, so you pray to the sun god? Well, you're probably praying to that deity that I was praying to. So I think that was okay. Just because you didn't know the name of a particular church that they had given him doesn't mean you weren't sincere in, humbling yourself before him and thanking him for the sun and thanking him for the seasons. And at the very least, there's something at play in this universe. I may not know what it is, and I don't know its name, but it knows me. And that's how I stick with a supreme deity, the great architect of the universe. That's how I go with that. And I'm glad we had this topic. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Taylor X. And so showing Taylor X love now, please. Yes. Thank you for sharing with us. And so now over to David and Margaret, and then I saw Lola and Lynn and Ella. So yes, David and Margaret.
Okay, so I'm the one who wanted to share. I would say that I think about God, experience God like the mathematical concept pi. And what I mean by that is that there really is no such, pi doesn't name anything except a relationship. And so it's not like you can point to something and say, well, there's a pi or there's a pi or there's a pi. Pi is a relationship. And I think that God is like that. I don't think of God as a cause-effect person that I speak to, although I do pray sometimes. But I think of God as sort of a bubbling, effervescent relationship. I am not musical at all, but the collection of essays that I published a number of years ago, I titled "To the Tune of a Welcoming God." Because when I think of God as this bubbling relationship, I would say that God is like the music of compassion and justice and harmony. And I hear that in the back of my mind or in the depth of my heart. And when I write, I try to put lyrics to that music. And when I act, I try to live my life in a way that if somebody looks at it, they can maybe intuit the music that I'm hearing, even if I don't say it out loud. And so it's sort of a strange place to be, because I'm still connected to a Christian tradition, and I still use God language on a regular basis. And I know that every time I say the word God, I probably mean something a little different than most of the people listening to me think. And yet I also think that most religious traditions are also trying to name that relationship that is at the heart of life. So that's me.
Thank you very much. Thank you, David. Yes. And so now we go to Lola.
Hi, everyone. I was raised Catholic. I don't even really know what I want to say here, but I was raised Catholic, and while trying to reconcile being a lesbian, I gave it the old college try not to be. And that came in many forms, including people inviting me to their churches and me. I grew up in a very Mennonite area in Pennsylvania, and lots of charismatic Christian churches of like real vague denominations. And so I've been baptized a couple of times, and then I lived with a family, and the mom became an Episcopalian priest and later a nun, and now she's a priest again. They got divorced, and her ex-husband is adopted into the Lenape clan. And so I also have a Native American name. And I'm so glad that I had this exposure to all of this different stuff, because what it gave me was a lot of confusion, but also a lot of clarity as I started to look for the positives in things. And I came to the conclusion that my God is love, because that's the hardest thing for me to achieve in the most real way, in the deepest possible way. It's easy, as a parent, that's natural, but in the world, it's the hardest thing. And so when I came to a place in my life where a conception of a higher power was important to establish, I didn't come to that right away, but I started to realize that what my purpose is to love others and to emulate Jesus, Buddha, all of the symbols of God. And their whole point, everybody's whole point was love. And so that's where I landed. Thanks for asking.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you, Lola. Wonderful. And hello, Ella. We see you, Ella. And I see also Evie. So is there anyone else before Evie shares with us? Is there someone else that wanted to go? Otherwise, we'll start positioning to move out of this place. Rob, okay, so Dr. Robert Gross. So we'll have Evie and then we'll have Rob, and that will probably have to be it for tonight. We're going to continue this topic next week. Evie, please.
I truly identify with the paths that others who have spoken tonight shared with us. I have a few different things. I was born into a culturally Jewish family. We were not religious. In my teens, I did the Sinner's Prayer with the 700 Club, having no idea what that meant. In my adulthood, I finally did become a church-going Christian, and having some experiences that I did not seem to be separating me from God more than bringing me closer. And so I left the church. And that was a scary point in my life. But something peculiar started happening. I started seeing ones everywhere, clustered ones on my odometer, on the clock constantly, just crazy places, just ones everywhere. And I came to understand there was this phenomenon called the 1111. And it said that essentially it meant that there was a spiritual awakening occurring within you. And I appreciated that, but I didn't know where it was going to take me. And eventually I decided to look at Kabbalah, and I still find that most interesting. But my Pentecostal roots, lead me toward some of the mystical. And I started to study the Eastern teachings and other mystical based faiths. And I just started to understand this oneness from a new place. I would recall from my Christian background that God is in me, and we are the hands and the feet of God and stuff like that. And I says, well, we are one, and we're one with God, and so we are God. And if we are God, then I am God. And this really bothers a lot of people, but that's where I am. Some people think that's an easy route to take, that it's a cop-out route to take, but I actually see it because I believe that God is one, the good, the bad, the ugly, the whole works of us, all of us. That to be practicing the love that we are talking about, and I don't know which word fits this love, but that I have to learn to love those that really jab me in a bad way. And that is the greatest challenge of my life right now, is that some things have made me very angry, and I might throw around the word hate sometimes, and I hate that I do that. But it's getting better. It's getting better. That's about it.
Have to believe it's getting better. It's getting better all the time. Bless you, Evie. So thank Evie, yes. And let's see, Dr. Robert Gross, where are you at?
I'm here. Hello. Yeah, I'll try to be brief because I know we're wrapping up here. I've sort of come from I'm on the borderline between atheism and agnosticism. When we say that we welcome atheists and agnostics, you're talking about me. One of the so-called four horsemen of the atheist movement, Daniel Dennett, was once asked by a reporter, "Do you believe in a force that binds the universe?" And Daniel Dennett said, "Yes, of course." And the guy got excited. And he said, "Okay, great. Well, what do you call this force that binds the universe?" And Daniel Dennett said, "Gravity." And he was being kind of a smart alecky kind of atheist, "Oh yeah, well, of course I call this force that binds the universe gravity." But I take that gravity. Yes, we live in an orderly universe. We live in an orderly cosmos where the sun comes up and the sun goes down because we rotate on an axis that is consistent, because the law of inertia is consistent. People often find science and faith at odds, but I find great spirituality in the sciences, and I want to echo what David said. One of my hobbies is trying to prove unproven mathematical conjectures. One of my favorite conjectures is something called the twin primes conjecture. I'm not going to explain that, but I liken it to playing chess with God. I mean, the fact that we have these enormously puzzling, complex relationships in the world of science and mathematics, I find great astonishment, amazement. It's bigger than any of our feeble human minds that can conceive. And I find great comfort and great clarity in those realizations. And also, of course, in music, because I am a musician, and I find, obviously great spirituality in the musical world as well, which is as close to a gift from God as I could probably believe in. I don't believe in a sentient being with a long white beard and a robe in the sky. I don't believe in that, but I do believe in forces that bind an orderly cosmos and being in awe and wonder at that eventuality.
Beautiful. Thank you, Dr. Robert Gross. Yes, thank you so much. So if you did not get to speak this evening, we will carry this over into next week, and maybe even two more weeks actually from here. I would like to offer each of you a blessing. Even if you did not share, even if you are just listening, for the person that might be, again, in a questioning place, in a place of deep inquiry or a place of curiosity, bless you. Bless your bodies. Bless your holiness. Bless your wellness. Bless you as you are healing. We know and affirm that healing is happening now. Bless your beautiful hearts that give so much. Bless your brilliant minds that open up to wonder and spirit and the intellect. Bless your feet as you continue to move forward in the ways that love or highest power or the mystery of all things leads you and guides you. Bless you in all the ways, my friends. May you forever know your importance and your criticalness in this cosmic journey. And so as we move forward from this night, remember to cling to that which you spoke of, to remember that this binds you together. And if there was something that someone heard here that made sense, may it be concretized within us as an, aha, I get that. I feel that way too. That makes sense to me. Yes, God and greatest love. We know that there is something that is happening here. And we can sit in that I don't know, in that place of the void. We don't necessarily have to have all of this figured out, nor should we actually. As we are moving through a 10-day prophetic work, a 10-day visionary project, we get reminded of the change that is happening. We recognize that we are part and parcel of that change, that it is not an accident that we are breathing in and out at such a time as this. So I'm going to switch right now. I'm just going to switch and say, let us not, everybody, let us not lose sight of this moment. Let us not lose sight of this moment. Whatever is speaking to you, whatever is calling to you if that has a name or not. Listen. Listen. And cling to it. Surely, as we do this holy change-making work together, this will give us life. This will lift us up. This will remind us of who we are, and that the revolution of love is now, right now. The time is now. This is the revolution. Bless you. Bless you all. And so we shift now, my friends, once again, as we close up this time of service, as we close up this portal, if you will, please feel free to put prayer requests in the chat. If you have not done so already, I will be looking there in a moment. And so